After 6:30, we'll call. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Hoey?
Here.
Mayor Kennedy?
Here.
Ms. Martin?
Here.
Mr. Dakota?
Here.
Ms. Doherty?
Here.
Mr. Gendron? Mr. Gignac?
Here.
6 present, 1 absent.
Thank you. The first order of business is Spotlight on Excellence, and this evening it's the STEM Academy at the Rogers School.
Thank you for inviting us to the Spotlight on Excellence tonight. We are honored to be here representing Lowell's newest public school, and we are part of Lowell Public Schools. We are the STEM Academy at the Rogers School. We enroll over 600 students in grades pre-K through grade 5. The STEM acronym stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics.
We are here tonight to showcase some of our great multidisciplinary learning projects, and we have picked our 4th graders here to help us tonight. They've been at the school the longest, for 3 years, and they have many great things to show us. Our teachers, paras, administrators, and most importantly, the students are here to show the slideshow that they produced themselves. We actually have a Promethean board, which is used at our school. It's an interactive whiteboard, we call it the big giant tablet. And we thank the superintendent and interim IT director, Casey Nelson, for securing many of these at our schools to help with the learning. So now on with the show. Our 4th graders will be talking about the STEM activities. So first, I invite Jordan and Dylan to go up and talk about the spheros. You have your sphero? Go ahead.
Sphero commands, actions. So roll is to make the sphero roll, and to stop is like to make the sphero stop. And to set color is to set the color like this. And to play a sound, you can play like an animal sound, any sound. And then to set speed, it makes it like go fast or slow.
Set time is how long you want the sphero to roll. Set speed is how fast you want it, and set the angle is how you want it to turn.
Drag and create the algorithms is how like we would press actions and then drag it. Like, for example, that's one of our pictures. And so we would just drag it and put it there and then set the angles and set the speed and set, like if it wanted to go left, we could set it to go left. If we wanted to set it to go right, then we would decide it to go right.
I think both boys are going to kind of show how the spheros work at this point.
Yeah, I think it's all like.
They're still working on their licenses, but we're getting better. Dr. McLaughlin, could you put the next slide on, please? So some of the challenges that they're working on, Dylan, do you want to talk about the mazes?
When we did the maze, we were having trouble with it because it was mostly turning one direction. So we tried turning it all the way, and that's how we got through the maze. And that was really difficult.
How we tried to make a triangle, it's not like grippy enough, so we kind of made one, but it was very tough to try to make one. And so we would go forward a little bit and then take a right, but it would like curve too much, like go fast and curve too much. And if we wanted to go forward, it would go too fast and skit and go all over the place.
Thank you very much, boys. We now are going to briefly talk about our Blanding Turtle project. We're working with the U.S. Department of Wildlife, and we're actually raising turtles that are going to be put back into the wild. So I invite Aurelia, Isabella, and Kimson to go up and kind of explain a little bit about this project.
First. Bending turtle take 14 years to reproduce. For this reason, scientists have a hard time studying them and are not sure if they are endangered, vulnerable, or threatened. Bending turtle are threatened because people are building too many houses and businesses and messing up their habitat. When that happens, they cannot find a good place to lay their eggs. Bending turtle travel all the time. When they try to go to other pond, car would drive too fast and kill them. The roads are the main reason why a dog turtle dies. They are sensitive when they are babies, and there are many predators that can eat them. Also, when people find bending turtle, they want to take them and make them a pet. When this happens, they do not reproduce. If that continues, they might become extinct.
And Aurelia is also going to talk about the research. I just want to point out that Kimson, who just explained about the research on the turtles, is part of our newcomer class at our school as well. And he's going to bring the turtles around to see as Aurelia talks.
Blanding's turtles have small nails that can rip their prey so it's easier to eat. Blanding's turtles are rare in some places of the USA. That's why we take care of them at the stem. Blanding's turtles actually have cuts in their shell because when they are babies, their mother cuts their shell so they know who it is later on. Blanding's turtles eat certain food in captivity. They eat gammarus, and if they don't eat a lot, try making some turtle jelly. Our turtles are named Stanley and Alfie.
Nice job, Aurelia. And Isabella is here to show the website that the class has been working on and made themselves.
Blanding turtles are very fragile creatures, so we need to take care of them. That's why we have them usually at the stem. And you need to feed them and make sure you take care of them really well. And they need tanks, they need some maybe fake rocks and the leaves so they can feel like they're in maybe like the wild and like a nice habitat. And they also need gammarus, a certain type of food.
Great, thank you very much. That's just one of the pages on the website that the kids have actually produced themselves. All of the content on there is due to research. They've learned how to do this and to add certain pages and links that go along with it, integrating the content in with the STEM. So thank you very much to these 3 students for helping us out. Next up, we're going to talk about our coding program, and Evan is going to be the fill-in for this. We did have one no-show today. So Evan, if you could go on up.
Creating algorithms to complete the puzzles means what you have to do is you have to drag and place blocks that they have for you to code with, and you can set it to for example 100 pixels. You can use it for drawing. You can use it for making. Basically anything once you get the hang of it. Loops is like, say you want to send like an email to a lot of people in code, but you don't want to just repeat that every time. You can use the loops. You can tell it how many times you want it to repeat that action that you put inside it, and it'll do it for you. I want to repeat turning right 45 degrees, and then forward 50 pixels, left 90 degrees, so I can turn and move forward 50 pixels to make this shape. So I can run it, and it'll repeat it for you.
You want to show them the code, Evan, right there too?
Yep. So here's the code that I just did.
Nice job, Evan. Very good. Thank you for filling in last minute as well. All of the students at the STEM participate in coding activities. We use the code.org sort of curriculum to go along with it, and kids really go at their own pace in order to do things. It's pretty rudimentary at certain schools across the United States, but we do so much of it, the kids progress pretty fast. As you can see, the integration of skills that go along with it. There's a lot of art that's also integrated into this, but there's math and angles and all sorts of different sequential learning that kids have to be able to do. So next up, if we could have Logic and Jocelyn, they're going to come and talk about our microgreen project.
So this is like kind of like how to. It's how to grow microgreens. And first, you have to get a plastic tray. You have to fill a plastic tray with an inch of moist soil. Number 2, add seeds. Sprinkle them thickly and evenly. Number 3, use a spray bottle to gently water the seeds. Number 4, cover with plastic wrap or a plastic cover. Number 5, place under sunlight or a grow light. Once they have sprouted, remove the plastic, and then you'll have some fresh microgreens.
Microgreens are healthy and nutritious. They are a good source of iron and calcium. They are grown at home. They have no pollution. They are high in minerals, and they increase your vegetable consumption.
I just want to point out the picture right there is actually the gardens that we have at the STEM Academy. We work in conjunction with Mill City Grows and Food Corps, and we have an active growing program that takes place all year. And I believe we actually have a gift for all of the school committee members tonight is we have some of the vegetables that we've actually grown even at this time of the year for the school committee to take home with them. So I don't know if Jocelyn and Logic, if you want to hand that out. When was this? When was this picked? When was this picked? This was actually picked just yesterday. Okay, so that's about as fresh as it gets. No supermarket there. Dr. McLaughlin, could you advance the slide, please? So we hope you enjoy those vegetables, and thanks to Logic and Jocelyn for presenting. Lastly, we're going to invite Evan up again. He's going to talk about our drone that we have at our school. Go ahead.
A drone is a high-tech, man-made technology used to look at things from above. It takes still pictures and live video. It can be controlled through apps on phones or tablets. It was also used for STEM projects.
And some of those projects include, we've been working with the city in the Thorndike Street renovation project that's happening right next to the Rogers School. And we're actually helping to look at the traffic from an angle that you typically can't get. We bring the drone up into the air. We can look at traffic patterns and what's been affecting. And it's an interesting way to integrate the engineering into the learning as well and make it like a realistic project for kids. So Evan, you ready to fly our drone today? Nice work. We're proud to say that while the drone was in the air, it does take video as well. So we will be trying to take that video and attaching it to our school Facebook account and also on Twitter. So for anybody watching tonight, you can always check out the STEM Academy at Twitter at STEM Academy LPS, or if you look up on Facebook, look for STEM Academy and look for the shark symbol that you see on all of the kids and all of the staff here tonight. We're very proud to be part of the STEM Academy. We're very proud to integrate science, technology, and engineering into everyday learning for elementary age students. And hopefully in the future, a lot of these children will pick STEM fields as they look for careers in the future. So thank you for having us here tonight.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, put it right there. Good job. Get in there.
Do you want me to take a picture with your phone?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Ms. Martin?
You guys are all set.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Just before everyone makes their great escape, because I know how exciting this meeting is going to get after you guys leave. Believe me, it's all downhill from here. Just wanted to take a moment. Congratulations to the staff, to the families, particularly to all of the students. You put on an extremely inspiring show here tonight. I think I can safely say we are all incredibly impressed with the work that's been going on at the STEM Academy. And I can say for myself, having seen this idea kind of start at a curriculum subcommittee on a quiet night sitting at the Rogers School, it is incredibly exciting, and I just can't even tell you how pleased and proud I am to see how this has been actualized. From what started as a small idea, it really has become, I think, a gem within our district, and that's really due to the hard work and then the inspired work that's happened right from your leadership straight through all your cadre of administrators and teachers and all the staff that are part of the Rogers, and all the families who took a chance. Those few, 3-4 years ago to try something new. So I applaud your efforts. In all my years, I have not seen a more charming presentation here at the school committee. It even rivals the dance numbers that we've seen over the years. So that's an impressive showing, kids. Really very, very proud of all of you. Looking forward to all the extraordinary accomplishments that your school and that you as individual students are going to achieve in the years to come. Thank you very much.
I'd just like to say that there are times when schools come down and they provide entertainment, but hardly anybody ever comes here and provides entertainment in food. So that makes you be the best that we've had so far. But I just want to congratulate all the students and the faculty. It just was a great presentation, and you're doing good work there. So keep it up. Thank you. Yeah, okay. I'm not, well, I'm probably tiny anyway, so.
I know, it's hard to get everything.
Yeah.
That was a good suggestion. I wish I thought of it. So many people are trying to,
Next, we have the approval of the minutes of the regularly scheduled school committee meeting of Wednesday, January 4th, 2017. For motion to accept, place on file by Ms. Martin, second by Mr. Hoey. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, permission to enter. Do we have a motion to approve? It's not working? Oh. Next, we have permission to enter for January 18, 2017. Do we have a motion to approve by Ms. Doherty, second by Mr. Dakota? Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hoey?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Dakota?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Gendron? Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
Next, we have 2 memorials this evening. The first memorial is for Peter F. Gill, the father of Mary Jeffroy, Lowell High School clerk, and grandfather of Lowell High School Freshman Academy social worker Gina Martell, and also Jeffrey Lembo, son of Kevin Parrington Sr., retired Lowell Public School custodian, and the brother of Colleen Parrington, Sullivan School teacher. Next on the motions, the first motion of the evening is a motion by Ms. Martin requesting that the administration, including all members who are cited as school committee representatives provide the Lowell School Committee with a complete report on the history and current status of the charge filed by the LSAA regarding parking for Central Administration LSAA union members. The report should include the legal language differentiating a charge versus a grievance and notification protocols required by each, a timeline of past meetings and with union leadership, and all associated documents and minutes from those meetings. Motion seconded by Mr. Hoey. Ms. Martin.
I believe that the motion speaks for itself. We'll just be waiting for an answer from the administration on all the requested documentation and questions.
Okay, is there any further discussion on the motion? Mr. Superintendent.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Point of clarification. I'm not sure I understood what it meant by cited. Cited, it said the motion says requesting that the administration, including all members who are cited. Not so sure I understood the reference.
Okay, well, I'm referencing the letter that was in the Lowell Sun that specifically cited that there were individuals who were representatives of the Lowell School Committee.
I did not read the letter. I'm sorry.
Oh, you should have. It had a lot of information in it. So if you, it's basically just saying that the union represented that they had spoken with school committee representatives. Obviously, that's you, but I'm assuming there were other individuals who were involved. So I'd just like to have a complete, comprehensive understanding of exactly who was involved and how, based on the minutes and all the other background material.
Are you investigating something
I don't have the
specifically?
capacity to investigate. I only
Are you
have the
looking for
capacity to
specific-
ask for specific information. So I'm asking for specifically this information to tell us how this situation began, the process it went through, and then the conclusion, which from my perspective as an individual school committee member, was when I was informed about it, again, via the Lowell Sun. Thank you.
Okay.
Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is a motion by Mr. Hoey, requests that the superintendent refer the homework policy to the policy subcommittee to review and revise if necessary. Seconded by Ms. Martin. Mr. Hoey.
Thank you. This idea I got out of the Rogers School when I went to another one of those school site council meetings. They had about 12 or 13 people there with a lot of questions about homework. So I just really want to review it, revise it, and hopefully Ms. Desmond can look into it and come back with some recommendations or some changes. And I want to have another subcommittee, like I need the practice, a policy subcommittee. So I think this would be a good issue. And I'll try to have it on the night that they're having this school site council meeting, so I can plan it at about 7 o'clock when they're done their meeting. I might be able to get those people in to give some input. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The next motion is by Ms. Doherty. Request that the superintendent provide, the next motion is by Mr. Gignac. Request that the superintendent provide a report on all extracurricular activities at each school throughout the district. Seconded by Ms. Doherty. Mr. Gignac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The motion is pretty clear. I'm just looking for a breakdown of extracurricular activities at each school individually, and I think this information, once it's distributed to the committee, should be available on each school's website. A few parents reached out to me asking if I knew if certain schools offered certain extracurricular activities, and I didn't know, and I tried to research the websites and I couldn't find anything. So I just think this is a good way to get the information out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any for Mr. Dakota?
Could we possibly add to that in terms of if any of these extracurricular activities have stipends attached to them? Could we add that?
Sure. If there's no objection, we'll just add that to the motion without an amendment. Everybody's in agreement. Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next motion of the evening is by Ms. Doherty. Request the superintendent provide the committee with a report on the time allocated for students to have recess, lunch, physical education, and health at each of our elementary and middle schools. Please include in the report any government mandates or recommendations regarding the time allotted for these activities, as well as if students are allowed to talk during lunch. Seconded by Mr. Dakota. Ms. Doherty.
Thank you, Ron. I think the motion is pretty clear. I am looking for a survey. I know that each school, the principals have some leeway, So I'm trying to figure out how that is playing out in the course of a school day for our elementary and middle schools in terms of those areas that I'm interested in finding out about: lunch, recess, things like that. It has to do with the social and emotional well-being of our students.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Do we have schools where you can't talk at lunchtime?
Well,
Mr. Superintendent?
Yeah, it did come up last year, and there were some parents who had sent complaints that they were told that in certain school that they were not allowed to speak. And I contacted the principal, and I was told they had no such a policy. It was one day that it happened because they were out of control, and they were asking them to stop. So if you know of any school, please let us know, because I don't know. I asked every principal, and they said they didn't have any such policy. So if you know that it's happening in any school, please let us know. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion, Mr. Hoey?
yeah, real quick, Mayor, thank you. I know when I was in school, a few times at the Rogers School, I remember on pizza day, they used to have those cubes of cheese, and some of my friends used to like to throw them up on the stage at other classrooms, and we got a little bit rowdy in the place, and now and then a principal or someone had to crack down and say, okay, that's it today. No speaking. A quiet lunch. If you want to act like that, nobody can talk. So I think that's probably that's where this is coming from. Now and then you have a school that might say to the children, quiet time today, no talking, because they're a little unruly. So I don't see a big deal in it. I like the motion. So I think some schools are looking to push back time. Instead of getting out at 3:30, some of them might want to get out at 3, especially middle schools. I think we have a problem with time. So I think your motion's great, and let's see what comes back with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Doherty.
I just want to be clear that part about not speaking at lunch, I wasn't referring to when it's used as a behavior modification for unruly. I'm talking about general practice. And I would be interested to hear what the principals have to say in terms of when you're gathering that information, because I have heard different things from different schools. So it'd be interesting to see what the report is. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion? All opposed? So voted. The next motion is by Ms. Doherty as well. In view of the upcoming implementation of the Every Student Succeeds Act this fall, requests that the superintendent develop local measures of assessment focused on the whole child, such as school culture, social and emotional learning, and the arts. Seconded by Ms. Martin. Ms. Doherty.
Thank you, Ronna. I just want to add to that ESSA, Every Child Succeeds Act, this new federal law that's going to go into effect next September, replaces No Child Left Behind. And for those people who are really against standardized testing, they're going to see this as a move in the positive direction, because although we're not taking away standardized testing for math, ELA, those core subjects, the government, the national government, is now asking us to look at other factors when we determine if we have good schools or what makes a school good. And that's where I think it feeds in nicely with the superintendent's strategic plan and vision. And as you may recall, when we had that presentation, one of my questions was, how are we going to measure school culture? How are we going to measure that we're really educating the whole child? And by arts, it could be music, it could, physical activity. So when I was at the Mass Association of School Committees session, and they were talking about ESSA and how that's going to be implemented in Massachusetts, there was a call out from DESE for local communities to start thinking about what measures, what assessments they might put in place. So this is really kind of like launching that. Start thinking about it now as opposed to later. What are some ways that we can look at? Because I think we're doing an excellent job in our schools. I think we have great diversity of opportunities for our students, but we need some evidence to show that, not only because of these new regulations, but just for our school, for our community, for the city to know. There's a lot that goes on in Lowell schools that's not tested on an MCAS test or MCAS 2 or whatever it is. And this gives us an opportunity to really explore how we can showcase those things, and I think really look toward educating the whole child. It's not just about the core subjects. We all know that. You know, kids learn better if they have an opportunity to have a 30-minute period of lunch and socializing, or a period of time that they're running around and getting that energy out of their body, that they're going to learn better when they get back to their desk. So it's really trying to embrace this and be proactive in how we address it. Sorry, thanks.
Any further discussion on the motion? Ms. Martin? Oh, Mr. Superintendent?
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the motion, because this falls right in line with what we're doing. But just for your information, we will be supplying you further information through a report. But about close to, I'm looking at Paul here to help me out the timeline, about more than 4 months ago, 5 months ago, we started a consortium was started in Massachusetts, which is the Massachusetts Consortium for Innovative Education Assessments. And Lowell is at the lead of that consortium. There's Lowell, there's Boston, and we lead that. I'm the chair of that consortium that brings together all the superintendents of 6 different districts, as well as the presidents of their unions, working together toward the 2 tracks, not only the track of innovative, of a performance assessment that you were referring to, performance-based assessment, but also the track of developing a new accountability by developing other measures, such as school quality and so forth. Also, about 3 months ago, we, myself and the superintendent of Somerville were designated by the state to join the associate commissioner on the national level, that we have been working with the federal government to join New Hampshire, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Colorado, and 2 other states to join a waiver to develop our own assessment in light of this new ESSA Act. So lots of work has been done. We didn't talk much about it, but be happy to give you all the info if you're really interested in that. There's been a lot of documentation generated. Thank you for your support on that.
Any further discussion on the motion, Ms. Martin?
Thank you very much. Just, and some of my colleagues may have received this as well. I know that there is, I believe it's Mass Inc. is sponsoring a pretty large call on Friday at 2 p.m. That I can forward the information for anyone who didn't receive it. I unfortunately have a conflict, so I'm hoping that someone else will be able to listen in. But I think from the committee's perspective, certainly it's a high time we need to be getting more information and preparing ourselves, because there'll be some significant changes. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor of the motion? All opposed? So voted. Next, we move on to reports of the superintendent. Mr. Gignac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you don't mind, I'd like to request that we take the Lowell High School Education Program and Space Use Plan out of order and take that up now.
8.5?
Yes.
If there's no objection, we'd take that out of order. Hearing no objection, we'll take that out of order, and that's the Lowell High School Education Program and Space Use Plan. Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Sisson. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate coming on. I think I'm the oldest one in the building, so I get to maybe get moved up a little bit. I want to personally thank the superintendent and Ann Sheehy for helping me the last couple of months when I've been out. They were terrific working through some of my medical leave, and I appreciate that. I want to thank you. And all the staff at the high school. Lowell High School has a lot of talent, but it's not all in the kids. All the staff were terrific, and I want to thank them. You have 2 documents that I believe have been forwarded to you from the Educational Leadership Team group that was established for the purposes of the high school. And we've had, I can't tell you how many meetings, but the members of the committee were Steve Gendron from the school committee, Mr. Frisch from Central Administration, Ms. Janine Dirk and Robin Desmond, Casey Nelson, Ricky Underwood, from the high school, Amy McLeod, Roxanne Howe, and from the city manager's office, Mike McGovern and Rodney Conley. And I believe the next steps would be to refer this to the subcommittee, which I think is next Thursday. I know there's some questions on the date, with the hope that the school committee could endorse the plan by February 1st and forward to the mayor and the city council and the city manager. And basically what the plan is about is what we do every day. What are the programs that we run? What space do you need to accommodate those programs? We had 3 visioning sessions where we had students involved and members of the community, and they were about 50 folks that participated with the architects. Students were there, and teachers, administrators, and neighborhood leaders and everyone. So I think we had a good cross-section of the community. Folks from UMass, from Middlesex participated, so that what you have is a compilation of all their ideas and vision for what we think are the programs that would best educate our kids. And with that document, the written document is the space analysis done by Perkins Eastman staff that looks at the state requirements, what space we have, the needs, for example, for special education, for physical education, for science labs, and all that goes with that. So what I wanted to do this evening is just offer my time. If anyone has any questions, to give me a call. I can have someone, an architect, or someone from the team that analyzed the space, get back to you either before the subcommittee or before you have to vote. Be happy to help you out. On the night of the meeting, we'll have Amy McLeod and Roxanne Howe will be there. They wrote the plan, pretty much the written document. The last couple of weeks did a great job. And finally, I'd like to acknowledge accepting Maddie Leahy to the school committee. We're very proud of our students. I think you've met our class president many times. And when I wasn't in school, we just let Honest Say run the place, quite frankly. Everything was fine. So with that, I thank you for letting me come a little early. If any questions, I'm back in school, half days for a while, but I'm coming back. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, Mr. Gignac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Martin, for providing this plan. I'd like to make a motion to refer the plan to a joint meeting of the Lowell High School Subcommittee and the Facilities Subcommittee for next Tuesday, January 24th at 8 p.m.
Second.
We have a second on the motion, seconded by Mr. Hoey. Discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Can I get it?
Sure.
Just 1 minute. I'm glad you sent it to a dual subcommittee. I think the high school subcommittee should be involved. I'd like to maybe see if we can have this meeting at the high school to make it easier for your staff that might want to show up, like, the people that might want to show up for it. I think it's awesome to do this. I want to hear more from the high school and your staff. There's some questions that I have, Brian, but you don't need to answer them tonight, but I'm looking more about, that 500 or 600 kids I feel that were just like myself that need that little extra. And I think we're not getting it from the trade school.
Yep.
They're saying we have 75 kids on a wait list. I have a feeling you have a few hundred in your school that needs some more of that. Meaning, we're trying to get, like, you'll see as this meeting goes on tonight, some things about expanding the culinary thing. I think ideas for the high school, maybe having 6 barber chairs so kids can braid hair, and there's all kinds of things we can do. We don't have to turn into a trade school, but we can turn into like a hybrid, have a little bit more of that. I didn't see enough in that report for my satisfaction, but that's the stuff I'd like to talk about, so. Thank you, and I know you guys put a big effort in this. I tried to read it a couple of times. There's a lot here. But I love the idea of going to the high school subcommittee more than the facility subcommittee. I think we spent enough time in the facility subcommittees, and I think the high school would be a great thing, and that's why I'm supporting your motion, and thank you for doing it. Thanks.
Mr. Hoey. Ms. Martin.
Could I just ask, I don't know if this has been scheduled already, did you have a time? 8 p.m., perfect, thank you.
Any, Ms. Doherty?
I just wanted to double check that we already have a finance subcommittee meeting earlier that night at the Rogers. So would we be moving the location to the high school if they have, because we do actually, we want to have it televised.
Yeah, we can come to the Rogers. It's okay. Sure.
Yeah, I think it would make sense to stay at the Rogers, yeah.
Okay.
It's been
And then
posted as such.
Just a couple, in terms of how we go through the process, like, as my colleague, Mr. Hoey, mentioned, it is a 45-page report. There's a lot in there. What is the best way? Would it be at the subcommittee meeting to get our, whatever concerns or questions we have, to just start there individually, and then we'll be voting on it February 1st?
Okay. I think the quickest way would be to perhaps email through Mrs. Durkin, who can forward them to me, or I can go either right to the architect or to the owner property project manager, Skanska, Mary Ann Williams, and they respond usually on the same day. So if you have specific questions, I think it'd be best to get them right to us. So when you have the meeting, you will already have those responses. Okay? Yep.
I'd be happy, just email me directly and I'll make sure it gets out to all the members of the ELT and the architects.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
So my only concern with that is the first opportunity I'm going to have to really dive into it. I mean, I've read some of it. I haven't finished it. Would be over the weekend. So if I have anything and I get it out Monday morning, let's say, or Sunday night, and then just whatever, because the meeting is then going to be the following night. So if we don't have all that information at the meeting, that would be fine, I would think, because we have until the first meeting in February where we'll be making a vote on it, correct?
I can just tell you that, for example, today, an inquiry came out and the architects responded within the hour. So I think they're very responsive, and I know that the Lowell High School team, I don't want to speak for them, but I know they're equally responsive. And so whatever we can't get to, we certainly can address on the floor, but I think that it would be helpful to all of us to have the information in advance.
And I would suggest to email anytime. Between myself, Amy McLeod, and Roxanne Howe, we probably know the answer, because we've been working on this with the architects, and if we don't, we can get them to get it right away. Okay? Okay. Yeah.
Any further discussion on the motion?
Thanks. Yeah.
If not, all in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Returning now to item 8.1, participation opportunities in food and the nutrition program. Any discussion on that report? Mr. Gignac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for those that put this together. I think, Mr. Hoey can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when he had brought the motion forward for food trucks to be available on site, I think it was to provide different options for students. And I wouldn't necessarily support putting our own product in a food truck and just, taking it from the kitchen, putting it in a truck and selling the same type of product. I think it was, and another thing that we had talked about was possibly providing a food truck for the culinary program, which I find much more attractive than, again, just repackaging what we're already providing. I do really like the breakfast carts, though. I've seen them in action at the high school, and I think they're very successful. I think the data is there to show you that kids need a healthy breakfast to get their day started. But the food truck, I don't think if it was for the students directly, I would support some sort of plan, but providing just another option, I wouldn't support, but thank you.
Ms. Martin. Okay. Ms. Doherty.
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't have any strong feelings about that either way. What I got from the food truck was this idea of feeding in the summer. So I don't know if somebody can explain further. Is the food truck going to add to our ability to feed children during the summer? Because that does appeal to me. I don't feel strongly about having it during the regular school year, but when our children are not in school, and I thought that was one of the benefits of it, and maybe you could clarify for me. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sharon Legassi. I'm with the Food Nutrition Department. The intent of the food truck is to specifically provide meals to kids that are not in school. So that's the main focus. So right now, we serve about 60,000 meals in the summer over a 10-week period. We serve 90,000 meals a week during the school week. So we know that there's a huge gap in feeding kids when school is not in session. So there's this huge opportunity for us to get more meals out to students. Through our surveys and through lots of conversations that we've had with other districts, we know that if we bring the food to the students, there's a lot of regulations around summer meals. We can't have kids come off the street and go into a school because of security issues. So we're really constrained in using a traditional school model. So the idea of having this food truck going around, we actually have some meals that we brought today because we are the food people and we need to bring food, that would show one of the meals that we could, Christina, could you bring some up, please, for you to sample? It's also something that we could do just as an idea. We could expand dinner meals this way. We could support the farmers market out here in the park. We can, you're going to just bring them right in there. We can also use it at the food bank. We could use it for all the events in the city where we could promote food and nutrition. So we could do nutrition education. We can do Harvest of the Month. We could work with Mill City Grows. We just see that this is just an extension of what the Food Nutrition Department does and how we can get it out to the community. These are some of the reimbursable meals that we serve at the high school right now. The truck at the high school, which was the original request, is we wouldn't just take a traditional sandwich and put it on the truck and make that, but we could make, say, a panini station one day and turn that into, so we could do a rotation and do some special events. But I think the main driver in supporting the idea of the truck is to have this ability to get more meals out into the community where there is the opportunity, so we can expand.
I'm sorry, Ms. Starr.
So my understanding, based on your report, is that this would be financed through the federal food reimbursement program. It would not cost us money.
We have to do some analysis, so we've worked with City Hall. So, I mean, we're just beginning, the beginning stages of vetting out how feasible this is. So there's some zoning things that we need to work through. There's a P&L analysis that we need to go through, see how many meals, how much it's going to cost, what our labor is, what the truck costs are. So before we moved forward, we wanted to see what the appetite of the school committee was before we invest all our time in doing all that work. So Mike Cassidy and myself have been, we've talked to City Hall, we've been working with Gary, we've reached out to some other districts. Worcester has food trucks that they're running right now. So just before we move forward with any more energy, we just wanted to touch base with you.
Ms. Doherty.
So given the focus is really on expanding the feeding and that it would be really around the school year, getting kids food during the summer, and as you mentioned, you might even be able to do evening things, would you be looking at going to the parks, places like that, or is that part of the plan?
So part of the plan would be is that we would meet with community members. So through Janine's Health and Wellness Group, we have a great network of working with social workers and community members and city members. So we would, I would tap into that capacity of being able to see where are kids, where are kids during the summer where we could make that a site, but it's a mobile site.
Right.
Because we can't use the schools. We've tried flyers, we've tried everything to get kids, but it's just such, the restrictions are so tough, and with security at schools, it's really difficult. But we know that we have lots and lots of hungry kids in the summer. We also know we have lots of hungry kids at dinner. There's also an opportunity where we bus kids out for sporting events. So we have hundreds and hundreds of kids that are at parks doing athletics that don't have an afternoon snack or a dinner. We could provide that as well.
I love this idea. You got to hear, I do. I would make a motion to support continuing to explore what this opportunity could mean for the city.
We'd also be able to have a contest. I don't know if you saw the pictures. We just called it Fork in the Road, just for something, just to stick. We could have a contest. We even thought we could get the music department to do the jingle, and really make it part of the community and part of what the students would really participate in. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We just think we think it's a really positive way to be innovative and be out of traditional feeding models.
All right, so we have a motion by Ms. Doherty. Do we have a second to the motion? Seconded by Mr. Dakota. On the motion, Mr. Gignac, then Mr. Hoey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question to the superintendent or Ms. Lagasse. Do we still have schools that don't have operating kitchens that have meals delivered, and how are those meals delivered?
Those meals everything is produced at the STEM. So we have a satellite menu that we deliver those foods, and those are all put together. It looks really almost like a lean cuisine. Everything is packaged, put in warmers. We actually spent some money last year upgrading all the equipment at those mobile sites so that we could improve the quality of the food.
Okay. I don't get me wrong. I think it's a good idea to get out in the community and to provide more meals to the kids that need them. But I think we still have a long way to go with those remote sites. I've visited some schools that have shown me what they look just like a lean cuisine.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to spend, if we're going to be spending money, whether we're reimbursed for it or not, I'd rather spend money on making those meal offerings a higher quality than cooking them all at the Rogers and then shipping them across the city. I think, and maybe a food truck will make that work better. Maybe having the heated vehicle will provide higher quality food. But I've seen, I wasn't overly impressed with the baggie of pickles and just it didn't look like the lunch that you would get at one of the larger schools.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's definitely a difference when you have to pack something and transport it and put it in a truck. We have a lot of facility issues. I mean, we can't even buy a toaster because there's not enough power in buildings to do things. So, I mean, we're really constricted, but we would, we look forward and we continuously try to find new products, better ways to get so anytime you transport food, you lose something. So it's, we're really constrained by the buildings.
Yeah. Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Mr. Hoey.
Just a few questions.
Sure.
One concern I have is we're already feeding 2 meals a day, correct?
Correct.
That doesn't cost anybody anything?
Correct.
Yeah, I was in the high school today, and I think a lot of people enjoy your food there. I think you do a great job. My idea about a food truck came off a junior Cambodian girl named Sam. It was her idea. And it was basically saying, I'd like to see some food trucks come in the spring and the summer, just once in a while so we can try some different food. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't eat the same foods. There's different people that some people like noodles, some people like tuna. But I thought I thought her idea was really good. But just by bringing up a thing about coming to visit the school a few times, they wanted to put a stage outside to be able to sing and have a good time and eat some food off a truck once in a while. Different trucks, maybe some Indian food, some Cambodian food, some Irish food. But now it comes back, this report, and it's like Amarak, is that how you pronounce the name of the company?
Aramak.
Okay. And all of a sudden, they want a truck that's going to cost us, I believe, about $125,000, correct?
That's the initial.
So our goal wasn't really to put any competition toward the meals, because I know there's a lot of laws involved with that. I think, and actually it was Mr. Gignac's idea when we were talking about things, about the truck to expand our culinary thing.
Mm-hmm.
And some of his ideas were to put the truck not in front of the high school, in front of the Songus Arena, in front of the auditorium, and be out making money for the Friends of Lowell and their own money. So I'm really not in favor of us paying for a truck. If we were getting it for free and you're gonna expand the meals in the summer, I'm all for that. But we are feeding them twice now. And I'm really concerned about, now that we have a new president, I'm wondering how much money's gonna come that way for those things. So are we gonna be able to expand? I'm a little bit concerned about, are we gonna be able to keep giving them 2 free meals, actually? So I don't know if you have anything you wanna say about that, but I think if your company was to pay for the truck, I'd vote, all day long, I'd vote for that.
Yes.
But for us to pay for it, there's no way I could support that, so that's all. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer some explanation, Mr. Hoey, because I think we're losing a little bit here in the translation. There are 2 things we're talking about. The first one, this is a truck that the food service wants to add, and I think the first goal of this is that to increase because we have a lot of children, a lot of our own students who in the summer have the right to get fed paid by the same source of funding that we are getting currently throughout the year, but we don't have the opportunity to reach them, unfortunately. And when they try to bring them to the school to eat, they don't always come. So this is one way to try to reach them. It is really not costing the taxpayer in the city here or the school budget at all. I think also that I think maybe a little bit of a confusion. The $125,000 for the truck is not coming out of our budget at all, and it's not coming out of the city's budget or taxpayers' budget. It's coming out of the same source of the reimbursements that we get from the government. So it's money that we already have, and we don't really have to worry about expending it because it's not like we're trying to build a fleet or something. But I do believe that once we have that truck, should the city allow it, because obviously they have to permit us, they have to allow it, they're the ones who have the ability to permit us. Should the city allow it, we might be able to use the truck to join it to the idea that you initially came up with, where we could have themes of different ethnic foods during certain occasions, where we could bring it together with the Department of with the arts or music and have special days, say for the Cambodian food or the Chinese or the some ethnic foods, and I'm sure we could use that vehicle. But that is a different idea that yet has to be discussed with the city, be authorized by the city and permitted by the city. But in terms of an expense, I just want to make sure that we don't, if anybody's, we weren't clear enough maybe and we confused some people, that this is not coming off our budget, this is not coming off the city's budget, this is not coming off out of the taxpayers, whatever. This is coming off from the same source of funding that the federal government is giving strictly for the food, and they will allow for the truck only because it is, as it's stated here in the report, because the intent is to feed more kids.
Okay, thank you. One last question, if you don't mind. When you talk food, I know you can't force kids to eat different meals, but what do we do with our waste, and how much waste do we have?
There's waste behind the house, so from a preparation standpoint, which we monitor and we track, which we have very little of that. Any waste that goes beyond what we recommend is share tables at all schools for breakfast and lunch to set up a share table. So a student has to take certain requirements for that meal in order for it to be reimbursable. Whether or not that child wants to eat it, we do not encourage anybody to throw that food out. We encourage people to put it on a table and share it with somebody else, because a lot of kids are not going to have that additional meal when they go home. So we encourage all of that to be shared with other students. Nurses take things back to the nurse's office. Once it goes past the cashier, where it goes is up to the community. So we strongly recommend that it does not land in the trash. We are not measuring it from that standpoint.
Okay, thank you.
All set, Mr. Hoey. Thanks. Any further discussion? Ms. Doherty.
I just want to remind my colleagues, my motion is to move forward with the exploration. We're not making a decision to go with the food truck necessarily, but just to get more information about it, and that's just to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Roll call.
Mr. Hoey?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Dakota?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Gendron? Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
Thank you.
Next is the superintendent's report on the science and engineering fair update. Any discussion on that? Ms. Martin?
Thank you very much. I just wanted to offer my thanks for the expanded information. It was really very helpful. I think it was really encouraging to see, you know, kind of looking at some of our students who've made it through to the MIT level of science fairs. That's great. And I think more than any, you know, as we move forward, I think obviously there are costs associated with this, absolutely. But wanting to be able to have these opportunities at all of our middle schools, I think are really important. I definitely recommend as we move into budget season that be something that we consider in terms of, you know, it's a short investment. It's, you know, just in terms of, you know, staffing requirements and all that. So I think that's important. And just continuing to kind of keep our eye on the prize. I have heard of different events going on at the university that I don't believe we're involved in, that we might be able to expand into. And that I just think we need to be really ambitious for the STEM programming. It includes the science fair option. That's not the only option, obviously, but I do think that it's a great showcase for our students. So I thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this report, Mr. Hoey?
Yeah, just real quick, Mayor, thank you. This is the same thing, like they're going to have the fair in February at the high school?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I think when you look at this report and stuff, which is a good report, but it showed that the high school, there was like basically no one using it. And to me, it's just common sense because those kids that are there didn't have all this STEM program coming up. So I just think your numbers are going to explode in that. I really do. I think it's a great thing. I went to it last year, and I hope to make it again this year. It's a great thing. So, but when I seen that thing about no one at the high school using it, that's the way I took it. I think there was one kid at the high school that was involved in it. Am I correct? Okay.
The high school has two STEM advisors that meet after school, one in the makerspace and one on the main campus. And they have lots of students that participate in that after-school programming, and then those students do participate in the fair. One student from the high school went on to the state MIT fair based on the project that they presented. So that was, you know, the project was good enough to go to that level.
All right, great.
But there were other students from the high school that did participate in the fair. We did receive grant funding to incorporate more high school students this year, which we are doing. And then we just found out this week that we've received a GEMS grant for additional $3,000 to encourage more high school participation for next year. So we will be continuing to pursue, because this does require a lot of pursuit of mini grants, bigger grants if we can get them. So we will continue to do that to try to continue to fund this programming, but I do appreciate it being thought about as far as the budget season as well, because as you can see, we're close to $35,000 to put on not only the fair, but the work that leads up to the fair, which is a year-round programming at middle schools and high school with our STEM advisors. So I appreciate the fact that's going to continue to be looked at.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoey. Any further discussion on this matter? If not, we'll move on to the sick time report. Any discussion on the sick time report? Mr. Hoey.
Yes, I want to thank Ms. Sheehy on this report. Last meeting when we were here and I brought this up, I didn't explain myself very well, but the only thing I'm kind of missing here is I'd like it, if she doesn't mind, to give us a report on the sick time for each and every school. I think that's a real important part to look at. This here has been great. I don't think we're that bad off. I came from a system that we got 15 sick days, and most of us used all of them. The staff looks like they're doing a pretty good job here, so until I get if you don't mind getting me one on the schools, because it tells you, it can tell you a lot, like we had different places where I worked, all kinds of prisons, and you have different schools, and if one school has a lot more sick time than another, there's reasons. Is it elementary school? Are they using more than junior high schools? So I think the number would be good for the superintendent, especially to see where his sick time is being used the most. And maybe she can add that for me if you don't mind. And because my thing about knowing what schools are using sick time is really thinking about, substitutes. I hear a lot of issues about substitutes right now. We don't have enough of them, we're not paying them enough, all that. And I just think sick time, looking at schools, it would help. So if she doesn't mind to add that for me, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Doherty.
Thank you, Your Honor. If we could, if my colleague would be open to, what I noticed in the report was there was a recommendation that we send this to the policy subcommittee, which I believe, Mr. Hoey, you're the chair of the policy subcommittee. The school committee has not reviewed the policy since 1983, if am I remembering that date correctly from the report. And I'm wondering if we could schedule such a meeting. We have something else the policy subcommittee is going to be part of. Oh, that's not part of the Lowell High subcommittee, is it? It's another thing. To get that additional information and meet about the policy and discussing how we might come up with some incentives, because we have been so focused as a district and had very good success with getting our student attendance up. I like you, I thought the results looked really good on the report. I think, the average absence for principals was 1, I thought, and 4 or something for teachers, whatever. It's not bad at all, but to really just kind of review it since it hasn't been done in like over 35 years. So I would recommend that we send this report with the additional information to the policy subcommittee if Mr. Hoey is agreeable to that as chair of that committee, and then whenever it's convenient to schedule that.
So is that a motion?
Make that in form of a motion.
Okay. So it's a motion, seconded by Mr. Hoey. Discussion on the motion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Any further discussion on the sick time report? Okay, we'll move on to the December financial report. Any discussion on the financial report for December? Mr. Gignac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few questions for Mr. Frisch. Mr. Frisch, on your cover memo, the past few months you've indicated why some of the accounts are in the negative and that a budget transfer would be prepared. When do you expect those budget transfers to be prepared? I've been putting off, but we've been a couple months now.
Yeah, we're in the process of making the budget entries and expenditure transfers. So that process has started. So that is going to continue from the 1st of January all the way through the end of the budget year. We'll have budget adjustments and making adjustments from the budget to the actual, and making sure we're not running a deficit in any one account. So that's an ongoing process, and you'll see some changes going forward.
Okay, thank you. And also, just another question is, I can't seem to find the suspense account in any of this information.
Sure.
If you could maybe guide me to it.
Instead of taking everybody's time, oh, here it is. It's on page 3 of the financial report.
Yep.
Look at, on the left, first column, on the left, 2400, in that series, and you'll see count 577771, school suspense.
179,000.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
You
and,
bet.
I would just like to make a motion to refer this to our finance committee. That's next week, just for further discussion.
Okay, we have a motion to refer the December financial report to the Finance Committee, seconded by Mr. Hoey. Discussion on the motion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Any further discussion on the December finance report? Hearing none, we'll move on to the, we've already done the Lowell High School Education Program and Space Use Plan, and so we'll move on to the Facilities Maintenance Report. And before we take that report up, I would just like to take a moment to introduce Madeline Leahy, who's here representing Lowell High School. She'll be here at alternative school committee meetings, I believe, and I think she'd like to speak on the Facilities Maintenance Report. Is that right? Go ahead.
Yes, it is.
And before you start, because he's sitting right there and he'll get upset, I have to mention that you are the daughter of City Councilor John Leahy. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. So with going on at Lowell High School right now, for the past couple of years, we have had heating issues. And today there was a lack of heat in all 3 buildings. And we feel as a high school that it is inappropriate for a school that is housing 1/3 of the teenage population to have a lack of heating, that it creates an uncomfortable environment both for students and teachers. And we'd like that issue fixed as fast as possible.
Thank you. Mr. Superintendent?
Thank you. Yeah, we'd like that to be fixed as soon as possible too. We share your pain and we share your concern. I do agree with you when it's too cold or it's too hot. We have other issues in some other buildings where because of the age of the system or the malfunction of the system, they have difficulties, keeping the temperature at a comfortable level, and it gets too hot. And then the kids can't learn either, especially at that age, elementary or middle. So we take that very seriously every time. I received several emails from students today, at least half a dozen, directly from students. And I also received emails from a few parents who had heard from their students, and immediately channeled them to our maintenance department, or I should say facilities department, because we really don't have a maintenance department. We have a facilities director who coordinates with the maintenance department at the city. And I think they're trying to do the best they can with the limited resources that they have. And also, I think at times, as you probably would guess it, that at times it's kind of really difficult road, because they know they're going to build a new facility, and what do? They keep pouring money on things. So I'm convinced they're doing the best they can with the equipment they can, but I do agree with you. It's becoming quite alarming. I know we received some assurances from the city manager that they're doing the best, and they're going to accelerate their efforts to fix some of the priorities that we have. And I know I have asked already Mr. Underwood to prepare a list for the city manager. He requested a list of what are our priorities, and make sure that they take care of them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Gignac, then Mr. Doherty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mrs. Leahy, for bringing this up. Now, since we have Mr. Underwood here, could you provide us with an update? Is there going to be heat tomorrow at the high school?
There'll be heat. If it goes as it's been going regularly, I'll be there at 4 o'clock in the morning, sometime around 5 o'clock in between there to reset the boiler. We have 2 boilers at the high school for the 22 in the freshman academy. One is non-operational, and one has been going on in what they call flame failure for unknown reason that I know of. DPW was there early this morning. They were there later in the afternoon, and I'm sure they'll probably be there tomorrow morning too. We have an engineer company coming in Tuesday of next week to give us a full assessment of what's going on at the high school. The 1980s building is a different story. It's a different heating system. They have 42 boilers on the rooftop there, and in my report I had said there was 15 out. There's actually 27 non-operational. We have a different engineering company coming in that specializes in Renai boilers, and they'll be giving us the same thing, a full assessment of what's going on up there.
Okay.
You all set, Mr. Gignac?
Yes, thank
you. Ms. Doherty.
Thank you. I guess I just want to point out the numbers that jumped out at me. We are in January, right? So we've got several more cold months ahead of us. And you just updated from your report, we have 27 out of 42 that are not working at the high school, 27. And in our elementary and middle schools, we have 15 out of 49. It's just not acceptable. We can't have children in buildings that don't have heat. I mean, you know, my son's friend, his car lost its heat, and he couldn't drive his car. You know, they wanted to go up to New Hampshire, and he couldn't drive his car without heat because it gets so cold, and it's been cold, and it's going to continue to be cold. So I'm just wondering, how long has this been going on? Because my understanding was we had pieces of heating equipment in the summer that were taken apart, right?
That's correct.
So can you give me a time frame? I mean, is this like all this, it's a crisis, all these boilers just went out all of a sudden? What's been the time frame that we've been dealing with this issue?
It's been an ongoing problem for as long as I've been in the system, whether it's one boiler or two boilers. What ends up happening is a steam boiler has to be opened up every year on both ends. So regardless if they do work this year and get everything operational, at some point during the summer they have to open up that boiler. Somewhere along the line, when it gets put back together, it doesn't seem to work correctly. On the water boilers, one end has to be opened up every year also. I'm sorry, steam boilers have to be opened up on both sides. Water boilers have to be opened on one side every year. And at the Sullivan School, for instance, both boilers worked fine last year. We had an outside company come in, service them all. They took them apart for inspections when they got put back together. Again, for unknown reasons on my part, they don't work correctly when they put them back together. So, and that's what the engineer will be doing next week, going through them to find any mistakes that were made or, you know, corrective maintenance that can be done in the future. So it's our plan to take that, with the help of DPW, take the, putting back together the boilers every year, contract that out. And if we go further, that would be my choice of operations.
Anything else?
So,
Mr. Dakota.
I don't know if the superintendent can answer this question or not. Is there any cutoff temperature that we're not allowed to keep kids in school? Is there a temperature that's, I don't know.
I do not know the answer right here. I used to, I forgot it. But I do know there is a for safety, whether it's too hot or too cold.
Right.
There is a certain safety margins that you have. That's why if it gets too cold, we usually, especially with the little ones, we might sometimes have to transport them to another school. Because as you said, if you can't stay in your own car when it's cold, you can't imagine little kids staying in a freezing room. It just doesn't happen. We haven't had to do that this year, thank God.
Yet.
But we, as I said earlier, I mean, it's not a problem of this year. You don't have 27 boilers cranking out in one year and 15 in another year. This is a problem that's been building up along the years, and you know, I think everybody's aware of it, and everybody's trying to work on it. But it does, for us to replace all these boilers in a way that they'll be guaranteed to work and warranted as well. That is an investment that I think is going to go into millions. Let's not fool ourselves here. This is not a couple $100,000 that you're going to be dealing with. A couple $100,000 is going to be the maintenance, the emergency maintenance, to get a few in the critical areas to get them going. If you're looking at really making sure that this doesn't happen, that's why in most schools we usually, when they're built with two boilers, so if one cranks up, you have another one. But what we have now is some schools, two boilers, but one is almost always down. So if one dies, then that's where the problem lies. So this is something that we need to look at very seriously and work with the city to plan, and what do we want to do with that? Because it's boilers, it's windows, it's various things. The boilers are now visible because of the weather. But there are, in other times, in the summer, as you heard, I'm sure all of you sent me emails. Most of you sent me emails that you got complaints from parents toward the end of the summer that the kids were so hot they couldn't learn. It was so hot in some areas. So, I mean, these are, what you get from an older building, older technologies and equipment that has not been planned for replacement, frequently. So we got to do a better job in planning, but it isn't a solution that's going to happen right away. We can tackle for the emergency spots, but we're going to have to work on this it's going to be a multi-year plan, because it's a lot of money to replace all of these things.
Are you all set, Mr. Dakota?
Yes, thank you.
Ms. Martin?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. First off, I think the superintendent's absolutely right. I mean, this is a far bigger issue, and it has been going on for a great many years, and it's a much larger capital investment kind of conversation that we need to be having, kind of in tandem with when we're talking about, the high school plan and all that. But of the situation as it was just kind of laid out to us, it does seem like there are some things we might be able to do that could have an immediate effect. If we're talking about, and I know you said the Sullivan, so I'm just going to use it as an example. If an outside contractor came in, did work, and it was faulty, that seems like something we should be able to respond to immediately. I have some experience in working with heating system, and not personally working with heating system, let's be clear, but in working with heating vendors, and I know, a clean and tune, what it does. I know that there are a lot of times for just everyday homeowners that it can throw something out of whack. Absolutely. In a lot of cases, boilers are very sensitive, kind of the mechanics of them. And that's, in a homeowner situation, I can only imagine how much more complicated they get when we're talking about, 2 boilers that are heating an entire school. But the onus on that is on that contractor. So is there a process in place for appropriate testing and is there an appropriate, I would say, dramatic response when the temperature goes down and that kicks in and it doesn't work, that between the school department and the city can happen to ensure that those contractors are held accountable and are brought back immediately to make those changes?
Well, we haven't had any contractor service any of the boilers this year, except for the Lincoln School, which is a new boiler. So all of the boiler work that's been done this year has been in-house services. And what ends up happening is, a lot of times, it's as easy as resetting the boiler. So a DPW employer, an HVAC employer will come in, they'll reset that boiler, and when it fires back on, there's not much they do after that. It's running. So then they'll go to problem number 2. So it's difficult to find out why they're really going out in flame failure when they reset and run through a cycle or 2 cycles or 3 cycles, and you'll sit there for sometimes an hour and watch that recycle, and there's no problem. And then you leave, you go home, and 3 hours later, that same boiler is going out in flame failure. So sometimes it's a time issue too with DPW. There's so much going on in so many different schools that they don't have the adequate time to spend all day on one boiler, so they'll get it running and off they'll go to the next problems. And they're very good about responding. Many of the cold schools we're having right now are due to just because you're going in at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, resetting that boiler, it's going to take a couple of hours for that school to warm up. And then you have the flip side to that. You also have many schools in different, that they have too much heat. So, it's district-wide. It's an issue where I'll have some better answers for you after next week on the cause of the issues. Any other questions?
Are you all set, Ms. Martin?
I am, thank you.
Any further discussion? Mr. Hoey?
Rick, thanks for the report. I think it's a good report, but when it comes to maintenance, like we've talked about it, we've already opened the can of worms around here on all the issues we have. There's no doubt about it. I was at the Merkland School today. I said, how's it going, to the principal? He says, well, I finally got my security, because the poor guy was worrying about what's outside his school all the time. He's very happy. I think we got the wheels turning. There's no doubt about it. But when I look at your report, I look at the roof leaks. Now, we're not going to build a new school for a few years. Right. And these roof leaks that, like the one we had a few weeks ago at the high school that stopped the basketball game, that people came in from out in another town, that's a priority. We have to either go patch it up until we get our new high school, but that's something that has to stop. I think you had another leaky roof at the McAuliffe School, and we know, and I know why your roofs leak real fast, even if it's a brand new one. They're leaking about 10 years because we go after the lowest bidder. Correct. You're not going after the best guy. You're going after the lowest bidder. So when your roofs are leaking, even at the Sullivan School, you can feel it come down through the walls. And leaky roofs are going to really ruin almost your whole school. So I like that part that you brought it up here. One thing I want to say, though, with the grounds, for that curb appeal look around our schools, I think this past spring, I was looking at a lot of it, and it wasn't like it was dirty or a lot of graffiti, but the growth, more than everything being green like a golf course, I'm more concerned about just trimming everything down, keeping the bushes away from the school. So I think your report's real good. I back up Miss Leahy on what she said. I was in the high school for a couple hours today. Really cold near E House. I seen a major leak there, roof leak. They had buckets in the tunnels. They had buckets everywhere. They had all kinds of wheelbarrows catching water. And to me, it's a pretty serious issue. The only thing I see in your report that I'm not sure if it's an issue. I know there used to be an issue with rodents at the high school. Now they're saying it ain't that bad down there. Yeah. And considering across the street we have all that construction going on, once you start digging up ground, you're wondering what's running toward the schools, you know? And I know the Pine School recently had a problem with them too. And Miss Doherty's motion tonight, when it speaks about lunch and people eating, a lot of the children are eating right in the classrooms now. So once you do that, you eat in the classrooms, you know what's going to come, mice. I live right near the school. I always have 2 cats on my property because you're going to have mice. But it's a serious issue. I'm not trying to make a joke about rodents, you know, near food. I'm concerned about it, and that's all I don't see in the report. If you could just let us know, you know, because the high school is telling me they haven't seen many rodents, you know, and it's an issue for me.
We doubled up on many of the, we were doing monthly inspections and baiting on all of the school through our contract. Many of the schools that any issue we had, we doubled those up. So now they're coming twice a month and treating those schools and checking the traps and rebaiting and whatnot. And a lot of that is due to the eating in the classrooms and whatnot. But I still think it's a good program. I think it's, you know, to get the numbers up for the breakfast, it's worth spending the extra money with Baines to feeding the kids. So no complaint on my end on that.
And I just want to thank you for what you do and all your honesty in your reports, because I know it's not an easy thing. And I know it's not easy being the mayor, wearing both hats. You know, he's got to worry about the city side and the school side. But again, I'm going back to we're tenants here. You know, and if you have a beautiful place. I know you take care of your places, and that's all we really want out of this. So, sorry if I rocked the boat a few times on this issue. I know what type of person you are, and I know you're going to work hard for us. So, again, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoey.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Dakota.
To follow up on your rodent conversation, Mr. Hoey, having spent 18 years at the high school and confronting several of those little critters along the way, I know that they had made a concerted effort to bring that under control, and I think they've really managed to do a great job at it. And the rodent population has significantly been dropped compared to what it was like. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Doherty.
One final thing, and really, Mr. Mayor, it's to you. Do you know when are we going to get some action on this? Like, do we have a meeting plan between facilities, the school committee facilities group and the city council facilities group? Because, I mean, we've lost 1 day to school because of cold weather, and it's January 18th. And I understand what the superintendent said. This isn't a quick fix. It's a capital investment, blah, 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 but we need a quick fix that's going to get us through this winter. We are obligated by law to educate our children in a building that is heated and safe. So I'm just wondering if there's a when we can have that joint meeting. I think, is there one already scheduled? No. Because I had a motion asking for regular joint meetings between the facilities school committee and the council school committee, and to come up with some real solutions that are going to provide heat for our classrooms. Not next year, but next week, tomorrow.
I do think, I don't have an answer for you this evening, but I will try to have an answer at the next school committee meeting. I do think that we have to get away from the idea that this is the school department's fault, this is the city's fault, this is the school department's fault. You know, everybody has to work together on this and go forward from there. So what I have asked at other times is for the proper departments to identify the worst cases, the things that are most egregious and that really need fixing right away. And certainly the heating systems are one of those. And, you know, it's my understanding that some of those heating systems have been apart for several months. And that there are some heating systems that are really, they're probably not only do they not work, they're probably not even functional anymore because they've been cannibalized in order to take care of other heating systems. So, you know, I don't know the total problem, but I do think that we have to get to a culture where the city and the school department are working together on this to.
If I could just respond, I never meant to point fingers. I'm not saying it's the city's fault or it's the school's fault. Obviously, you know, these are ongoing issues that have been going on for a while. What I'm trying to convey is a sense of urgency that we need to come up with some solution now, a Band-Aid solution. Maybe it's to hire some outside contractors to come in and get things running to get us through the winter because we don't have the staff on board to do it. Whatever that solution is, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying we need to work together.
You did direct the question to me, not to the superintendent, so.
Because I think that you straddle both
Yeah.
realms. That's why. You have not control, but you lead both groups. That's why I directed to you. Not in any way blaming the city, but if you think about, if you are a landlord and your heating system doesn't work, by law, you have to put your tenant into a motel or hotel until you get the heating system working. We have children in our school. I mean, everybody knows that, but we had this conversation back in early November. I mean, I came to the meeting here at City Hall, and, you know, and I saw the city manager saying, we're doing the best we can, and I believe him, but it's not good enough.
No.
Because that's my point.
Right. And, you know, I agree with you, and I'm sure every member of the school committee agrees that there should be heat in all of the schools and that the heating system should work. And I'm sure that every member of the city council also agrees with that. But that doesn't happen so far. And a lot of it, I think, is probably financial. But regardless of what it is, it's something that has to be rectified. We can't have buildings that are going to be down off and on all the time, as Mr. Underwood was talking about. And so it's something that has to be discussed between the school department and the city administration, and come up with a solution that's going to work and have both the DPW department and the school department work in unison, rather than maybe it isn't always that way. Yeah, Mr. Underwood.
You know, it's troublesome when, because I hear this all the time, and I feel it even right now talking about it. You know, you're thinking of the backlash. You're worried about what, you know, DPW will say, what the city manager will say. It's a shame that we have to talk about the issues when somebody says, you have to respond. Teachers call, school committee member calls, parent calls. You have to respond. And when you respond, they automatically assume you're pointing fingers. We're not pointing fingers, and I'm certainly not pointing fingers. It's frustration, certainly, but it's not pointing fingers. And the city manager said himself just recently, Dracut has as many DPW workers as Lowell does. So it's not always just the person. Maybe it's the system, and we have to, again, it may not be vendors, it may not be so-and-so. We have to look closely at DPW and without pointing fingers, and just look outside the box and say, okay, what has to be done here? We need more HVAC workers in the city. We need more plumbers in the city, and we need more, well, not so much carpenters, but we need HVAC and electricians in the city. And that's the bottom line. And it comes down to money, I agree, but we can't be feeling bad every time we're complaining about something that's an actual issue, because, you know, I get the calls. I'm out at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm there at 5 o'clock in the morning resetting these boilers. So we're not pointing fingers. But yet, every time we talk about it, for at least since I've been here, if you bring up an issue, you're blaming somebody. We're not blaming anybody. It's just something that has to be looked at.
I don't think that anybody's pointing fingers, nor do I think that anybody is blaming the other. But I do think that the two departments, the DPW and the school department, that there's it's maybe, well, this is my responsibility, that's, you know, someone else's responsibility. People at home and parents of students, they don't really care whose responsibility it is. They just want it fixed.
And I agree, and we do work well together. DPW works well with the school department. They respond when we call. They're there to, when emergency goes. And that's one of the other issues. They respond to emergencies, and then it lacks on the preventative maintenance or the other end of it. It's really a personnel issue and not, so much a nobody's doing their job type of issues. So.
I don't think it's that nobody's doing their job either. But I do
Okay.
think, and I've had discussions with the city manager about this with the boilers, because I do know that there are boilers that are taken apart that won't work, and that, and I know that it's the DPW that fixes those boilers. But anyways, the short of it is, it's something that's being discussed, not in a subcommittee level, but it has been discussed with the city manager. I think the city manager is aware of the situation, and I should have a report for you at the next meeting that will make you smile, Ms. Doherty.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Ms. Leahy?
I'd like to say on behalf of Lowell High students and faculty, a thank you to Mr. Underwood and anyone else who has helped with the heating system. Not only that, but we feel as a student staff that we understand that a majority of the money is going into the new school and that it is the solution to all the maintenance issues that we've been having. But we also would like to bring up the fact that a lot of our students still have a lot of years left in that building until the new one is made, and that if we could continue to work and fix these issues as well as possible before the new building and without spending a majority of money and time, we'd like that to happen as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Martin, did you? Okay. Any further discussion, Mr. Hoey?
Yeah, real quick, I'd just like to say, I think John Leahy, I'm not positive, but I think Spotlight on Excellent, did you invent that or come up with it? Nice job. I like that. And your daughter's very nice over here, doing a good job. But I just want to touch one thing. I remember that meeting very well with the city manager. And if anybody left that meeting mad, it was him. He was upset. That's just my opinion. And this is more about dollars and cents than anything else. Sometimes I think if you can't handle a certain job, maybe we got to look at that money and what they call the maintenance of effort or the chargebacks. And that's what upsets some people. Over the years, we've been fighting about this issue back when Mr. Kula Harris was here. I remember it very well. So to point the finger and say, you did it, they haven't maintained things. The city just hasn't done it right with the schools. They've tried, but they haven't handled it well. And that's what I'm hoping comes out of all of this, that maybe we sit down and look at that, because maybe we can take some of the maintenance and do it ourselves over here. You know, like get some guys that are working under you to maintain roofs or fix the leaks on the roofs, because right now that's the big issue with me. Leaky roofs. We can't have that gym at the high school doing this for 5 more years. Just can't happen. So that's my case. I think the city and the schools just have to get along a little bit better. But as far as we touched an issue here, we opened a can of worms that in my 62 years on the planet, this is the first time that we talked about those numbers. And it comes from our superintendent. And I think, this is just my personal feeling, a lot of people are focusing in on that, and they're not very happy with it. And I believe the mayor when he says we all got to get along, we all just got to put our hands down now, and no pointing, no yelling, just fix the schools. That's all. And I think it's all going to come here. So I know you've been banged a little bit on these things, and it's not your fault. You just got here. You know, maybe it's that guy's fault in Chelmsford. I'm not sure about that either.
No.
But, no, all joking aside, this is a real big issue. I was in that school for 2 hours today, very cold. So the points that she's bringing up, she's right on the money, and we can't continue to do this. And I know it's hard, Mayor, but I think it's something that he has to hear on the other side, that we're not in here to have a war with the city. We're here to fix the city, and the schools are very important. So with all that said, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hoey. Any further discussion? Hearing none, you're making a big difference
Thank you, Mr.
tonight, Ms. Leahy, for your first meeting. All right, the chair would entertain a motion to accept the motion, accept the reports and place them on file. Do we have a motion to that effect by Mr. Gignac, seconded by Mr. Hoey? Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next report, the last report of the superintendent requires a roll call vote, which is why we kept it out. It's for home education. There's a request for home education. Do we have a motion to approve? By Ms. Doherty, seconded by Mr. Dakota. Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hoey?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Dakota?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Gendron? Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
Next item on the agenda is convention and conference requests. There are 2 requests this evening. Do we have a motion to approve the request by Ms. Doherty, seconded by Mr. Hoey? Discussion on the requests, roll call.
Mr. Hoey?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Dakota?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Gendron? Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
Next under, the next item is the members of the United Teachers of Lowell hereby donate 18 sick leave days to Ellery Rivera at the McAvenue School, paraprofessional. Do we have a motion to approve? By Mr. Hoey, second by Mr. Gignac. Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hoey?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Dakota?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Gendron? Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent, approved.
That concludes the agenda for this evening. Do we have a motion to adjourn? We have a motion to adjourn by Ms. Martin, second by Mr. Gignac. All in favor, all opposed? Stand adjourned.